in art you do something to express like your feelings, but what we do, I think, is we take the brand and then we adapt it to the brand. So it's more like a craft than an art. You want to bring your personality into it, but at the same time, it's really about expressing that brand.
Yeah, but I think the reason they do come to someone like ourselves is that they also want to see how far they can push it. Want it to be right, but I think they also want it to be new, different, and exciting.
It's sort of a very magazine format.
And they're actually moving more toward that.
This was inside the opera. I take photographs of all the different angles. When the photographer gets there, we sort of set that up so that we save as much time as possible. And sometimes he'll see things a slightly different way, and sometimes they just sort of go exactly the way I photographed it. It's the day on the Black Beach in Iceland. It snowed. You can see a little snow back here, which was very good for the Black Beach that we went all that way for.
Right.
And because the sun never goes down there in the summer, we were able to shoot from 7 o'clock in the morning until like 11:30 at night. I got to Las Vegas and Matchbox 20 is coming out with a new album. Yeah, Audrey Neisen, the client of Bloomingdale's EP creative director, worked on this. They decided to get tattoos. So I got my first tattoo with them in Vegas after having a few drinks.
Sometimes you have to go the extra mile.
Yes. I'm from New Jersey, and that always gets a little chuckle for some reason.
Wow.
But where are you from?
I'm from Alabama, which gets a bigger chuckle.
See, I win.
So, yes. And New Orleans.
My father was a creative director, art director at Lord & Taylor. So I grew up going to Lord & Taylor and being in the advertising department, was involved with artists and illustrators, and it was always geared towards fashion.
We're really big believers in the fact that if you get the right group of people together, it'll take care of itself. It's about having a thorough concept. I'd rather someone go too far and come back with something that's pushed than have to say, this is boring and you better try to make it more exciting.
There's an aspect of editorial to it that isn't just so straightforward. Great editorial, I think part of what makes that sometimes the ones that I've been on is the sort of the not knowing what's going to happen and letting things happen, and just getting that group of people that he said together, but then letting that evolve. I mean, all the great ones sort of come out from something in a way going wrong and then having to make something else up, and that becomes like a greater story than you originally planned. I think a lot of young art directors make the mistake of wanting to do they are feeling or seeing, and it's often not about that. It's about what is the story about, what are we selling, and how do you best portray that. Right. And then you want to add that twist and that edge that makes it something special. When we're doing a story about an artisan and there's going to be a nude model in it, and that I know is my edge. Sometimes you don't know what your edge is until you're in the midst of it, and then you see it from a certain point of view. And that's exciting too when that happens. When someone new is on the set, what I like to do is tell them that there's something shiny on them and that they have to move away, that it's getting on the model. And ultimately they'll move over a couple feet, and then I say, it's still, oh wait, we're still getting some kind of reflection, it must be something I want, and move and see how far we can get them away from the camera and how far down the beach they'll get before they realize that it's a joke. I like that one.
That makes people really want to work with you.
I knew Ned Doyle and Bill Bernbach of Doyle, Dane and Bernbach, and I loved that whole period of Mad Men. And Bill Bernbach was just such a creative genius to me, because at the time people were just everything was sort of a still image, and he somehow made with those Volkswagen commercials, it was sort of still a still image, and yet it had this movement to it, and I always found that really inspirational. And of course, from a words perspective, he was a genius. So I
was still in kindergarten, so I don't know.
You were still in kindergarten. Well, all right. Well, yes.
But I'm sure it's good.
I'm sure it's good. I love that documentary about the Ames. That was a really good one, and I so we're taking inspiration from that for our offices and how we're set it up, because they didn't have a set office. They had it so it was modular. So depending on the project they had, they would change the configuration of their office, and I just think that was brilliant. And I often think of myself as maybe him and Philip as the woman.
She was more talented, actually. Yes. Ray was. That's fine.
He's kind of the wife, and I really appreciate the support.
It's that kind of. There's no reason that you can't have a group of creative people. If you're going to do it and you're going to spend most of your time with these people, try to make it as enjoyable as possible.